Purdue 2015, you're in the middle of a magical season, Austin. What do you remember about waking up that day and seeing that much snow out in Iowa City and just knowing that there's a lot on the table, some really cool stuff could happen today, but it's going to be one of those brutally cold Iowa November games. What do you remember about that day and that morning just going in?
Yeah, I actually remember being relieved when I woke up because I remember the forecast being the snow hitting right about game time. So to wake up and know that the snow was over and they'd have plenty of time to clear the field for us to play because I was anticipating playing in a snowstorm. So but I've always wanted to play in a snowstorm. I guess I never got the opportunity to. But I mean, just senior day, being able to clinch the West, all that rolled into that day made it pretty special and made the snow pretty forgettable.
What's that senior day run out like? I noticed you were the only guy that kept your helmet on, like Jordan and everybody else, no helmet. Do you remember the thought process to that? Was that maybe hiding emotions? And just what is that moment like running out and the crowd hears your name and you got the rows and everything? What a moment that has to be.
Yeah, I think it was more probably trying to hide emotions. Now, I guess with looking back on it and having some perspective now, I kind of wish that I would have taken my helmet off. But the feeling running out, the fans you've been playing 5 years in front of, was pretty special, and just the ovation for every single guy, whether they were a four-year starter or a special teams player or somebody who didn't see the field. So if you it was a it's something to be proud of if you go through the program and you graduate from the university, and so running out through that tunnel means you put in the hard work.
You're 2 wins away from a clean sweep of the regular season. The division title's on the table. A trip to Indy's up there. What do you remember about just the specific mindset going into that Purdue game, knowing what was possible from there?
Yeah, I think what was so special about that team in 15 was just guys being able to compartmentalize one game each week, finishing the week 1-0, and then at the end of the season, that's what leads you to that 12-0 season. So being able to just focus on the moment, which was beating Purdue on that Saturday, and the effect of winning that game was winning the West, because we had taken care of business each week up until that point. So I think that's just what made that team so special. It was just a bunch of guys who understood that and played hard every Saturday.
That was the year you guys read The Slight Edge, right?
Yes.
Do you remember how important was that book and that message? Because I remember reading it around the same time. You're like, yeah, it's the message of it is, just those little things can add up to that slight edge and become a big thing. Was that a key read and preseason prep going into 15? Was that just a key moment of getting everybody in that same mentality?
Yeah, I think that was a critical read for us over the summer leading up to that season, just because, by all outside measures, we were not a very talented team, not a very big team, fast team, all that good stuff. So uh, having that message given to us by the strength staff and the rest of the coaches, being the 95% of people who continue to do things the right way once you achieve success, continuing to chop wood, how much time you sharpen your axe versus time chopping the tree. So that stuff really resonated with that team because of the guys we had on it, guys who were just hard nosed, tough, blue collar guys, and yeah, just it definitely set the tone for how we wanted to prepare throughout the season.
What do you remember about that moment at the end where game's over, it's 40-20, you've got at least a share of the West. Again, Wisconsin lost later the day to give you the outright, but just a moment like that, it was still kind of a new thing, the fact that there were divisions, but you get a chance to go to Indianapolis and play for the whole thing. What's that moment like on senior day, a cold, quintessential late November Iowa game, just that moment and the celebrations. What's that moment like, especially as a senior and going through the program you had?
It's a super cool moment. I know that a lot has been shown now in the recent years about Coach Ferentz in the locker room and how emotional he gets. I mean, that's real, and I think that's what makes it so special for me, is because all the guys in that locker room, and then him and the rest of the coaches, just being able to celebrate with each other because we know what we put into it. Nobody wants to lose, right? And especially the guys in the locker room. So being able to win with those guys and that group of coaches and teammates was really special.
You just wrapped up an NFL career. Just I'm sure you've got some time to reflect on that as you move into retirement and you're back home in Eastern Iowa. But looking back, seventh rounders can be a bit of a crapshoot wherever you can end up in the league for a decade, or you can be out by the end of camp. Just as you look back, what does your time in the NFL mean? Getting to have the experiences you did and play for the coaches you did and play with the offenses and the quarterbacks you did. I mean, you look at the places you were and the folks you got to line up with. That's a special stretch you got to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very blessed with my athletic career. Had a lot of success at Iowa. Obviously, finished off with that 2015 season, and I was drafted by the Colts in the seventh round, and was promptly fired a year later, and found myself in LA with the Rams for 4 years, and just kind of tried to keep the momentum up until retiring 6-8 months ago, whatever it was. So to be able to be a part of such an awesome league and a storied league, and just filled with so many great players and so many great stories. Again, I find myself blessed, and it's really afforded me the opportunity now to really enjoy fatherhood and our marriage, and just being home and not having to go to work, and just being able to enjoy all the things I mentioned. My kids are growing up; it's going fast. Um, we have 3 of them now, so we're plenty busy enough even without the NFL life.
Yeah, sometimes retirement's a full-time job. When was
Yeah.
the last year that you weren't playing football in some way, shape, or form?
It would have been, gosh, I was in junior high. I started high school in fall of 2007, so fall of 2005 would have been my seventh grade year of football, and I didn't play anything before that. So
What's it like? I mean, you're not done with the game. We'll get into that in a bit, but what's it like not having to stretch or put on pads or, take an ice bath every day or something? I'm sure. How's your body feel right now after finally being able to unplug?
and body feels actually really pretty good. I was fortunate enough to get out with minimal injuries. So I wasn't anticipating my body having to recover too much, but not having to put, like you said, put the helmet on, put pads on, hit guys every day has really helped the body fully recover. And but it's funny you say, how do I feel about not putting pads on? I was just thinking the other day, coaching the guys, watching them put their pads on. It was I think Monday. It was a little bit warmer again for whatever reason. But watching them put those pads on, I was like, man, I am so glad I don't have to wake up and do that anymore. So it's been fun.
Sure. One of the fascinating things to me about being an offensive lineman or just a bigger guy, I'm not a big guy at all, but the amount of caloric work it takes to just play. I remember Tristan Wirfs, like one of the first TikTok videos I ever saw was his pre-draft meal set. We've seen what Marshall Yanda has lost since he retired, just biking and not having to eat 5,000-6,000 calories. What was your diet like as an NFL player compared to what I imagine is a lot more manageable now? You can only go to the pizza house so many times there in downtown, but it'd take a few trips, I'm sure, to equal what you have to do just to sustain an NFL body.
Yeah, I would probably say, to maintain my weight, although I wasn't a very big offensive lineman by NFL standards. It was my last year in the league. I was about 285. But to maintain that, geez, it's probably somewhere around 6,000 plus calories a day just to maintain that weight, because you're probably burning, actively through practice and lifting and all that good stuff. You're probably burning more than 2,000, and then whatever you burn just walking around and sitting around the rest of the day. So to be able to maintain that was uh, a chore in and of itself. And I'm sure there's other guys that have to eat 7,000-8,000 calories because of how their metabolism is. Luckily, I didn't have to. But now it's been awesome. I've really uh, tried to track my water intake and keep my calories low, and just trying to let the weight fall off naturally. So it's been nice not having to uh, actively sit down and think about what I'm going to eat every meal.
For sure. And you get to sit down and you get to be a dad full time and a husband, and you're coaching at Williamsburg too. Your father-in-law, of course, Kurt Ritchie, has a heck of a program there. What a year the Raiders are having. Just what is it like to be back home, be around family, and get to do those things that you got to do as an NFL player, but you're pulled into the league too, and everything that comes with that. To just be able to head back to a town of 3,100 people that I know means so much to you. What does that mean, and what else are you up to nowadays?
Yeah, Kyle and I have always said throughout this entire journey since we've been together that we've always wanted to end up back in Williamsburg, giving back to this community because of how special we feel it is, how much support we felt we received growing up, going through the athletic programs that we did. And we're just really looking forward to getting back into coaching or getting into coaching for myself. Kylie's coached a little bit, but she's looking forward to getting into it. And I'm really enjoying my first fall getting to coach. It's been rewarding kind of seeing our athletes grow throughout the season and feeling like you're a part of that. I always loved coaches who were really I felt like they were invested in my growth, not just as a player, but as a person as well. So I've really tried to bring that into my own coaching um, experience now. And it's just been super fun. Like you said, the team has been performing well, playing well. So we'll see how this last few stretches or last stretch of games goes, and see if we can finally get Coach Ritchie a state championship.
I can't believe it's week 7 already. The season's
I know,
flying.
it goes fast.
What's one thing you learned from Kirk that you now take into your coaching career as it starts?
Yeah, I think you can't just be invested in your athletes as athletes. Gosh, I know I've had many conversations with him where he brings up somebody in my family that I was like, how do you remember their name? How do you know how do you remember to ask about them? And then just going back to, I've been to a few practices now since I've been done, and just the admiration I have for him, just talking to him grows every time because he just truly cares about each and every one of his players, past, present, and the future players he'll get to coach. But I just can't say enough good things about him, and what a model to have to try and be like in this my young coaching career. So having Coach Ferentz as a coach in my experience has just been invaluable.